back to Random Rod Shop, folks. This is going to be part 2 of the trailing arms. Hopefully you caught the first one. This one we're going to actually see if all of the work we did last time actually works. So, let me catch you up to where we're at right now. At first pass, it took me pretty much all day yesterday afternoon to get these trailing arms out from under this pickup. None of the bolts wanted to come loose. Everything was rusted. I basically had to get out the torch, heat the nuts up to get it all apart. Then I spent a fair amount of time trying to get a tap down these U-bolts. I don't know. I didn't order any new U-bolts. Not sure why. So had to get a tap on these. I don't know if you can see that, but these bolts have definitely seen better days. The one on that side, on the passenger side, that thing was loose. And it tried real hard to cut that U-bolt in half, and it's wallowed out the trailing arm perch. So it's a good thing we're going to put a different rear end in this thing, which means we'll get new perches. That's what these axles are for. Those axles are to shorten a Silverado rear end, you know, the disc brake rear end, because I'd like to keep this 6-lug. So those axles are basically 3 inches shorter than a factory Silverado. So we're going to cut the axle down, and we're going to put a new rear end in this thing, with 6 lugs and disc brakes and all that stuff. So that's a good thing in this case, because otherwise you either have to weld up that trailing arm perch, or you're going to have to cut it off, put another one on, because the hole, you got about a half a bolt play each side of the bolt, of the U-bolt. I don't know how you wouldn't know that. Whoever was driving this, you know every time you had to take off, it had to go bang, bang, bang. I don't know. I got some clips that I filmed along the way of getting these things put together. I'll put those in right here. Gonna have to get a bigger hose clamp. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna get these all welded up and I'll get back to you. Well, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna get the welder out. I'm gonna get that tacked up. I got the polyurethane in the black one, and if I flip it around, you know, one side or the other, I'm able to put that polyurethane in this one I'm working on. So I know they're lined up on this end, and so the angles, actually those look pretty good. Let me get the welder out. Let me get this thing welded together. I wanted to get this other set. I wanted to get the angle set on this other set. I'm not going to get these done, but before I get these installed, I thought I would line up the, you know, I really don't want to take these out again. So I'll line up the angle before I put them in, and then I can set these two aside and I can finish those up later. Probably when I get to 57 up here. Caught you up till this morning. I started basically making the other three trailing arms. I have the other two are over there. They're not done. These two are finished. I'll probably finish those other two when I bring the 57 in. So all the dimensions worked out, right? If you watch the other one, you know that we decided we're going to cut these 58 inches long. The front, the front mount, basically mark the center line of that 1.5 inches back, or 1 3/4 inches back down the center. This is 2 inch by 3 inch tubing, 3/16 wall. It's heavy stuff. The cut. So we decided that this is about 13.5 degrees. Now, I don't think I mentioned it last time, but that angle doesn't have much, that angle being exactly right to me isn't that big a deal. I did my best to make these things, and we're gonna put this one under here. I've got the factory trailing arm bolted to the axle. We're gonna bolt the first one I made underneath there, just to verify that everything fits, right? But everything I'm doing, I'm putting new perches on. So the way I do it, I bolt up the trailing arms with the new perches, don't weld the perches on. And once I get the truck, fully together, so it's got the motor, the transmission, the bed, it's got everything on it, then I set the pinion angle, tack the trailing arm perches, and then come back and check it again, and then weld the perches back on. So in my world, those spring perches are kind of the last thing that gets done after everything else is done. That way I can set that pinion angle. So that angle isn't that big a deal to me. Keep in mind that, you guys are probably like me. I'm going to put 4-inch drop springs on this thing to get the back down low, a little lower. It's not going to be a belly dragger, but it'll be a little lower than it is now. So let me get after this. Let me put this under here, and that way we can all see that it looks like that the dimensions I gave you are going to work. Well, it seems to fit. Let's see, let's get the other one in there, and let's see if it fits. I put the wrong bottom bracket in. I put the one off the 63. Just in case you guys haven't seen the difference. Let's see here. Looks like the one I grabbed is from that side. Anyway, the 63 just has one hole for the shock. The 67 has two for the shock. I'm gonna have to do some looking. This one's cracked. I'm gonna have to do some welding on it. But right now, I just want to see if these fit. Well, that makes me happy, folks. This took a lot more time than I thought it was going to. I couldn't believe how hard those bolts were to get out. Other than that, our dimensions worked out. All the bolts are in. The U-bolts are tightened up. Let me get the jack and let me raise the rear end up. I don't think I mentioned it, but when you're messing with trailer knobs, you want to make sure that the frame is left. Well, maybe not level, but left to right, it's level. If you think about what's going on with that trailing arm, the only movement possible in that trailing arm is them two bushings up there. And when they're rubber, they're not quite so bad. You start putting polyurethane in there and things start getting stiff in a hurry, which is why I really wanted to see if these were going to fit, because you kind of got to be right. The polyurethane bushings are not forgiving at all. All right, let's jack this up, and I'm gonna bring it against the bump stops. Oh, I understand. I couldn't figure out why it was going up crooked, but I don't have the brake drum or anything on this side, so this side's actually heavier. Well, nothing's binding. I don't seem to be moving the frame yet. It looks like to me everything's gonna work. Let me show you something here. So there's the Pantard bar. All right, so right now, I don't know if I can get under there. So right now, that thing is up on that side. So the horizontal distance is reduced from it being level. You would expect that the rear end will get pushed to the left, right? Because that horizontal length is actually less because it's going on an arc. So let's have a look at the bump stops and see if I got my gazintas going the right way here. So look at that bump stop there. Right, so the U-bolt is on the very back of that bump stop. Let's see what it looks like over here. I know it's kind of dark, but the U-bolt is contacting the front of the stop. Right, so it seems that the rear end is pushed that way, is pushed to your left. Assuming that the factory designed it, that they would be the same way. So let me lower this thing down and see if I can get that thing level, and we'll look at those bump stops again and see if this rear end straightens up. Well, that looks pretty level to me. Let's have a look. That's pretty close. All right, so I stuck a jack under here because, you know, it's still heavy on that side. I've got about 6 3/8 from the edge of the bump stop bracket down to the axle, and I've got about 10 3/8 inches from the frame rail to the backing plate. So the axle is centered when the pattern bar is horizontal. So something to keep in mind if you're, you know, lowering or raising the truck, because that pattern bar is going to move it. Given the way it pivots, it's going to move it, right? It is going to move it to the driver's side because the horizontal distance from the frame mount to the rear end is shorter everywhere except when it's horizontal. It gets shorter if it's off horizontal. Okay, well, it got dark on me. I was going to show you what we drug home. So we found a 1993 2500 or 3500 dually. Has an MV 4500 in it. That made me kind of happy. I've been looking for an overdrive unit for my 71, and this has got a 454 in it. So when my young one, you know, I've been telling you he's going to put that 454 in his 3/4 ton flatbed. The 454 we got in the 68 Impala. I think his plan now is to pull that fuel injection off of this 93 we just drug in, and so his 85 3/4 ton will have a big block with throttle body. Well, now that we got the trailing arms in this thing, I think we're going to pull that 57 up and go ahead and get the trailing arms on it, and probably cut all those stinking brackets off that 8.8 and see if we can get that rear end mounted in that 57 pickup. That would make me happy. I'm going to order some 4-inch lowering springs for this. You notice I didn't put the coils in there. I want to wait until I get those springs so that if I got to mush the spring pocket a little bit, we can do that. All right, until next time, I'm Random at Random Rod Shop, and we're out of here.